When I first saw the trailer for this movie, I thought it looked SAS. Turns out it's actually pretty sweet. The opening scene is set in Montauk, New York, where a tow truck driver named Gary arrives at his ex-girlfriend Maddie's house to take away her car. It is revealed that her car is being repossessed as she owes property taxes on a home she inherited from her mother. Maddie holds two jobs, one as a bartender and the other as an Uber driver. And losing her car means losing her ability to work as an Uber driver. As a result, she tries to persuade Gary to spare her car. She even tries to appeal to his feelings, but her efforts are ruined by another guy whom she hooked up with the previous night. Seeing this, Gary fastens her car to his tow truck and leaves. Don't worry, Gary, we're all jealous. Now, Carlos Maddie resorts to rollerblading to make it to work. Along the way, she notices Gary's tow truck parked outside a coffee shop. Seeing that he is busy inside, Maddie quickly unfastens her car and tries to drive away. However, she forgets that it remains tethered to the truck. This results in a minor commotion, and Gary quickly arrives at the scene and raises the car back up. Maddie ends up on probation as a result of her actions, but thankfully she is bailed out by her friend named Gabe. Following this, Maddie rushes to her job at a bar with her frustration still lingering. She is further annoyed when a customer demands a drink before the bar is officially open. As a result, she gets into an argument with the customer, causing her to be scolded by her manager, Fern. Fern then assigns Maddie the task of folding napkins. There she is accompanied by her pregnant co-worker Sarah and her husband Jim, who's low-key. The best part of this movie, as the three engage in chit-chat. Sarah shows her a peculiar job opportunity from wealthy cryptocurrency investors, the Beckers. They are currently searching for someone to date their introverted 19-year-old son Percy, and in return, they are offering their Buick Regal car as compensation. This is about as much a coincidence as it should be illegal. Desperate to avoid losing the home, Maddie decides to accept this unusual Craigslist post. The next day, she visits the rich parents' house in order to discuss the job. The parents, Laird and Allison, tell her about their son, who is shy and doesn't have any experience with girls, drinking parties, or sex. They hope to boost his confidence before he attends Princeton University in the fall. As their discussion unfurls, just as the willy of their son hopefully will, the pair learns that Maddie is already 30, which makes them somewhat hesitant. If the genders were flipped, this would be dark, but they're not, so it's hot. Nonetheless, Maddie asserts that what they truly need is not a young girl, but someone mature who can guide their son towards being a responsible man. This convinces the parents, and they eventually hire her for the job. But before departing, they ask her not to let Percy know about this. Later on, Maddie dresses up in a seductive dress and heads to an animal shelter home where Percy volunteers. She feigns interest in adopting a dog and specifically demands Percy's assistance with it. Percy then shows her a dog named Milo and starts briefing her about its details. Maddie, on the other hand, keeps on hitting on him in an attempt to flirt. However, Percy doesn't feel comfortable, due to which, he decides to end their conversation. Maddie, who needs more time to talk to him, offers him a ride home. Percy seems to be hesitant, but she grabs his bicycle and loads it into the van, which she borrowed from Jim. On their way, Maddie tries to strike a proper conversation, during which she cracks a joke referring to Percy as her hostage. The young boy takes this seriously and thinks that she is trying to kidnap him. His suspicion rises when Maddie takes a different route, citing it as a shortcut in an attempt to seek help. Percy tries to dial 911 on his phone, but Maddie takes it away, heightening his unease. A short while later, they arrive at Maddie's residence, and just before exiting the van, Percy pepper sprays her face. Despite the pain, Maddie expresses that she finds him hot and wants to spend more time with him. Hearing this, Percy helps her wash her face, and the two agree to meet for a date. The following evening, Maddie invites Percy to a bar, and the boy arrives there in a suit with short pants. Maddie then orders a cocktail for both of them. Percy spits at the drink as soon as he tastes it, but Maddie tries to convince him, saying that he must try alcohol before going to college. Their conversation is soon interrupted by some pool balls and then by one of Maddie's ex-boyfriends. He mentions that he is now married and boasts that his wife is very loyal. Unlike Maddie, before departing, the man also warns Percy, saying that she's a slipper. I don't know what that means. After their drinks, Maddie takes Percy to the beach and suggests that they go skinny dipping. Seeing him reluctant, Maddie undresses herself in front of him and jumps into the water. Following this, Percy nervously takes off his clothes and follows her. Soon after, a group of drunken teenagers show up and begin to mock them. They even try to steal their clothes and other things. Furious, Maddie walks out of the water naked and fights the drunkards. She beats the hell out of them, even going as far as to suplex one of their dumb little balls, and then goes back to Percy. All respect to Jennifer Lawrence, that scene was bonkers. After witnessing her violent actions, Percy is scared of Maddie and as a result, he demands to be taken home. However, she claims that it was only self-defense. Brushing off this topic, Maddie tries to make out with him, but the latter refuses as he doesn't know her yet. This annoys Maddie, who then leaves, grabbing both of their belongings. A naked Percy follows her and demands his clothes and phone back, but Maddie only gives him his clothes. She prepares to drive away, but Percy jumps on the van's hood, demanding his phone. Never take a naked Zoomer's phone. Regardless, Maddie doesn't care and begins to drive, only to be spotted by the police. This makes her worried as she is already on probation, frightened that she will lose her license. Maddie speeds up the vehicle and manages to outrun the police car by driving past an oncoming train. In the aftermath, the two of them go to her house and Maddie tries to seduce him one more time. She also starts dancing on his lap, but the inexperienced Percy finds her heavy. Maddie then places him in her lap and starts to get close. Unfortunately, this only triggers Percy's anxiety, causing him to develop a rash on his back. Despite this setback, Maddie doesn't judge him and instead nurses him with some lotion. Comforted by her kindness, Percy opens up about his lonely life. He reveals how his classmates used to mock him for sleeping in his parents' bedroom, which is one of the reasons that discourages him from socializing. In response, Maddie also shares her story regarding how she has lived in this house her whole life to take care of her sick mother. Percy asks about her father, to which she says that he abandoned them for his new family in the city. After a heart-to-heart conversation, the two decide to date before getting intimate. For the next few days, Maddie and Percy spend most of their time together, enjoying activities like beach outings with their pets and playing laser tag in the arcade. As time passes, Percy becomes more at ease with Maddie and they form a true friendship. One day, they both admit to never having attended a prom. Percy wonders why she hasn't been to a prom. Despite her prom queen attitude, Maddie replies that she once had written a letter to her father asking why he didn't want to see her. However, the letter came back unopened just before prom night. This experience left her feeling dejected, so she opted not to attend. Her story touches Percy's heart, so he asks for her permission before kissing her. Afterwards, the duo meets with Percy's former nanny named Jody, who is a little concerned to see Percy with a girl. In a playful manner, he tosses a frisbee and asks Percy to retrieve it. While the boy is away, Jody asks Maddie if she is using Percy for money. Our girl immediately shuts him up by saying that she just wants to date him and that his relationship with the kids, a little weird itself. Later in the evening, Maddie is at home when the doorbell rings. Answering it, she discovers her former classmate named Doug Kahn, who is now a real estate agent. He cautions her about the legal proceedings related to the takeover of her house, but Maddie remains resolute in her determination to hold on to it. The same night, Percy picks up Maddie in his limousine and they go for dinner at an expensive restaurant, treating it as their makeshift prom night. While enjoying their meal, they engage in lively conversation, cracking a lot of dirty jokes. Shortly after, Maddie, knowing that he likes music, encourages him to play the piano. Although initially nervous, Percy musters up his courage and plays the song Man Eater, capturing everyone's attention with his, frankly, unbelievable talent. He turns out to be so good that the entire crowd cheers for him. Percy then returns to Maddie, who is flabbergasted, but soon after, he is approached by his school friend, Natalie. After a brief chat, she invites him to a party. Maddie appears somewhat jealous of their interaction, so she answers that they're busy tonight. Despite this, Maddie provides him with the party address before leaving. In the next scene, Percy brings up the subject of his college plans and is worried that they might not get a chance to meet. He asks if she can visit him during weekends, but Maddie claims that she doesn't do long distance. Hearing this, the boy gets so upset that he leaves the dinner and heads to Natalie's party, fearing that he might sleep with other girls and ruin her job. Maddie follows him inside. However, she loses him in the crowd, so she asks the party-goers about him. Instead of helping her, the youngsters mock her for coming to the teens' party despite being old. Eventually, Maddie manages to locate Percy in a room with Natalie, but he's sick because he has taken an ibuprofen with alcohol. Concerned, Maddie takes him to the bathroom and forces him to vomit. This causes a scene at the party, so Natalie's father throws them out of the place, but not before Percy accidentally punches her in the throat. It's a stupid joke sold exceptionally well. On their way back, Percy says that he is ready to make out with her. He takes out some preventative measures, but at the same time, he also confesses his love towards her. This makes Maddie uncomfortable, so she brushes it off by saying that he's drunk and that they shouldn't do anything tonight. The following morning, Laird and Allison are happy to notice that their son is now more upbeat and extroverted, thanks to his so-called girlfriend. However, their facial expressions change when Percy shares his decision of not going to Princeton because he wants to stay close to Maddie. The parents tell him to go for car driving practice, while they immediately make a call to Maddie. She claims that she can't carry out the job any further because Percy has gotten way too attached to her. In response, Laird offers her the car if she convinces him to go to Princeton. Unbeknownst to them, Percy accidentally connects the car Bluetooth to the phone and overhears their conversation, which shatters his heart. He takes some time to come to terms and then invites Maddie to have dinner with his parents. Once she arrives, Percy tries to make his parents and Maddie have a conversation. However, they somehow manage to play along. Shortly after, Percy receives a call from his friend, so he excuses himself from the dinner. The two friends then drive the luxurious Buick Regal car to the woods and destroy it. Upon returning home, Percy heads straight to his room. Sensing something amiss, Maddie approaches him to ask about the matter. Instead of responding, Percy leans in for a kiss, but Maddie refuses. He then presses her to disclose the truth, but she continues to lie. With no other choice, she agrees to sleep with him to give him what he wants. Unfortunately, Percy doesn't last for more than 10 seconds. "That was my thighs," she says. "No, Percy." As the two lay down beside each other, he finally admits that he knows about her deal with his parents. Hearing this, Maddie apologizes to him, saying that their friendship was real. However, a betrayed Percy doesn't listen and asks her to leave. Afterwards, Percy confronts his parents with the truth, insisting that they stop intervening in his life and allow him to face both success and failure, independently. Now that his relationship has ended, Percy reverts to his normal routine and begins to spend his days in his room playing video games. On the other hand, Maddie receives the damaged Buick Regal as her compensation, which she starts using for her Uber job. Passengers are a bit unsure about getting into it, but Maddie manages to convince them to get in. After several days of hard work, she makes enough money to pay off her debts. There's no way she made that much money that fast. She happily celebrates this achievement with Sarah and Jim. However, her joy is short-lived when she learns that Sarah and Jim are soon moving to Florida because they can't afford to buy a house in Montauk that's more realistic. Later on, Maddie takes some time to reflect on her life and decides to amend her wrongdoings before moving on. She burns down the letter she wrote to her father, apologizes to Gary for what she did, and makes a bold decision to sell the house. She also wants to reconcile with Percy, but he doesn't reply to her calls or messages. As a result, she drives towards Percy's house only to learn that he's visiting his university before enrolling there. Maddie then drives to Princeton and apologizes to him for the betrayal. When Percy tries to leave without listening to her, she jumps on the car's hood. Despite this, he starts driving just like she did in the past. Unable to see, Percy hits something that causes Maddie's jacket to catch fire. In a state of panic, he drives towards the sea to set the fire out and then rushes to help her. In the aftermath of this event, Maddie is not dead, which is crazy, and the two finally reconcile and share an emotional hug. As the car is being towed, the duo sits on the beach and shares their future plans. Percy is going to Princeton while Maddie is moving to California. However, they promise to stay France. Afterwards, Maddie decides to sell the house to Jim and Sarah so that they don't have to move to Florida. In the final scene, Maddie offers Percy a personal Uber ride to Princeton on her way to California. She also discloses that she has adopted Milo. The movie ends as the duo leaves the city to start a new chapter of their lives. See, I told you it was sweet. Subscribe for more videos like this, turn on notifications, and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.